Good afternoon and welcome. We are proud to welcome you to this press conference with the President of Ukraine and the Prime Minister of Sweden. And shortly they will sign a joint declaration on enhanced security and defense cooperation, after which they will make short remarks and take questions from the media. So with this, I invite you, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, to sign the agreements. Thank you.
Well, President Zelensky, dear Volodymyr, great to have you in Sweden again. This time another air base. Last time was in Linköping, the civilian, the Saab air base. This time it is Uppsala military air base. Last time we signed a letter of intent between Ukraine and Sweden. And we said back then that this is the start of a long journey between the two of us. And honestly, I know, even if they wouldn't admit it just today, that some people had a hard time to really believe that this deal could be concluded. The deal we started the discussions on with the agreement in Linköping, that deal could be concluded, and we do that today. Today we take the next step. Since then, Russia's war remains intense, and nobody knows that better than you and your team. But their war efforts do not remain successful. Ukrainian forces continue to demonstrate exceptional resilience, skills, and determination in defending your country and our values. Thank you so much for what you are doing for the rest of Europe. Och nu på svenska, ni som var med oss för...
Those of you who were with us last year, you might want to use your headsets, Mr. President. Those of you who were with us last time, you might have remembered the declaration of intent that President Zelensky and myself signed at that time to pave the way for a large-scale export deal for Sweden up to 150 JAS 39 Gripen fighters of the most recent variant, Eric, as it's referred to in military terms for E. This would be beneficial to Ukraine, we stated then, but also for the defense of Europe as a whole, and that of Sweden, of course, and a very great opportunity for Swedish defense industry to expand the family operating with JAS 39 Gripen, the world's best fighter jet. Air defense is the single greatest capability and need that Ukraine has. We witness this almost on a daily basis on television during the long winter, where Ukraine was able to hold up better than many had dared to hope for against the aggressions. And Sweden has, as we know, already contributed greatly with support to the anti-aircraft and air defense of Ukraine. We've delivered anti-aircraft systems that can be carried across a shoulder or a mountain, Robot 70 or Hawk, for example. We've ordered the Triton system and advanced radar for delivery to Ukraine for all those of you who are more interested in the technical specifications. But there is a significant need for a modern air defense for Ukraine. A long-range defense capability is necessary. We see this on television every single day almost. Currently, there are previously Soviet-era aircraft and a donated F-16 Mirage fighter jets and Mirage 2000 fighters. This is what Ukraine has available. And we stated already at that stage that we can contribute in the best manner possible to the radar reconnaissance system, which is already available in Ukraine. And we also stated back then that in the longer term, Gripen is the best and optimal choice for Ukraine. So today we take the next major step on this joint journey. Ukraine has very clearly indicated Gripen as the choice and their priority for long-term air defense in Ukraine. And they would like to purchase the most recent model, Eric and Frederick. We have them over here on this side. In a first step, today's agreement between Sweden and Ukraine entails the purchase of 20 new Gripen E. The negotiations and all the details and preparations are underway, but our ambition is to quickly conclude an agreement, a complete agreement, which will enable deliveries as of 2030. This is a historic decision for Sweden, but it also strengthens Ukraine's air defense significantly. Secondly, Ukraine has requested that the Swedish continued support for Ukraine will take place within the framework of previously used Gripen, which is currently the one used here on my other side, Caesar and David variants of Gripen, which we have in the Swedish Air Force. It is a tried and tested variant and has been used since the early first years of the 2000s in Sweden. So a handover of 16 in total of such Gripen CD variants will be made when the agreement with Ukraine on the purchase of new iterations of Gripen has been concluded. When Ukraine signs the agreement for Gripen in the near future and Sweden receives the necessary export permits, which are always required in any major export agreement and which have so far always been granted, delivery of Gripen CD, the current model in existence, will take place as of the early parts of 2027, and it will greatly and rapidly strengthen Ukraine's and Europe's air defense. And President Zelensky and myself recently met one of the Ukraine test pilots who've been up a number of times flying the Gripen fighter jet, and he pointed out that this is a great game changer in the Ukrainian air defense. We will also contribute with maintenance and training here in Sweden and all the necessary components to be able to use the system in its entirety. That has already begun. And thirdly, providing the current security situation, it is incredibly important to Sweden that we can rapidly replace the capacity which we are now handing over, so that new Gripen E fighter jets, which have previously been commissioned, will be on full delivery to the Swedish Air Force, replacing the fighter jets we donate to with other Gripen fighters. Sweden is part of the group of countries that have provided Ukraine with the most military products and equipment. And today we are totaling 128 billion Swedish kroner since this horrific war began by Russia. When we support Ukraine, we also support Sweden and Europe. And to me and the Swedish government, no task is more important.
To you, Mr. President.
Thanks so much, Ulf.
Dear Ulf, dear Mr. Prime Minister, thank you for this meeting, for this visit, for this tremendous help. Dear friends, distinguished members of our delegations, dear Sweden, first of all, thank you, Sweden, for all the support you have provided to Ukraine. We highly appreciated the support to our people and to our defense. Sweden has stood absolutely principled in defending life, and we deeply appreciate it. It is exactly this kind of determination the kind Sweden has shown that can bring peace closer, and we very much wish that some of our other Ukrainian partners were equally consistent, principled, and willing to help within the limits of what they are truly capable of. This is truly a historic event, a historic day for our cooperation and for our countries. Today, Sweden announced a new support package for Ukraine, and this support opens a new level for us in saving the lives of our people, in protecting our cities and protecting our communities. This package worth $2.7 billion includes a range of important elements to make us stronger. It also includes funding specifically for drone production, nearly $400 million. But most importantly, Gripens. And Mr. Prime Minister spelled it out, and we've started this conversation. And last year, at the end of last year, we've made relevant decisions. In my view, they were equally important and historic, but we started in December. We had this agreement, and today we have a decision regarding combat aircraft, Swedish combat aircraft that will definitely strengthen our air fleet, our air defense. And more than $2 billion from this package is allocated specifically for aircraft. We expect to receive the first capabilities, the first Gripens within the next 10 months, and we'll do everything, we'll do our best on our end. And we count on this very much. And importantly, these aircraft will come with the appropriate weapons package, which will also help our defense against Russian guided aerial bombs. We're talking specifically about a squadron of Gripens for Ukraine, and this is tremendously important support for us. In addition, as Ulf and I previously confirmed, Ukraine is ready to purchase Gripens, and we are beginning this work just recently at the EU level, and today in our parliament, in Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, final decisions were approved regarding a 90 billion European support loan for Ukraine. These are funds allocated for 2 years, including for our defense. It is from this package that we are directing 2.5 billion toward the purchase of modern Gripens. So overall this year, next year, and our continued cooperation ahead are about building a Ukrainian fleet of Swedish Gripens. We have all seen these aircraft. They are genuinely excellent combat machines, and this will help us guarantee the security of Ukraine and the Ukrainian people. Ulf, I thank you. Thank your entire team, and I thank all of Sweden for these unquestionably strong steps. We are very grateful to Saab Company and to other representatives of truly high-level production in Sweden. Today we also discussed the details of our cooperation in all other areas. I briefed Ulf on the situation in Ukraine, both on the battlefield and in our defense against Russian strikes. Russia continues to place far more hope in missiles and in killing people on the front line than in diplomacy, and this must be changed. The key to this is continuing support for Ukraine's air defense. And the most important element today is protection against Russian ballistic missiles and other types of missiles. Europe has its own tools for defense against cruise missiles, but with ballistic threats, the situation is much more difficult. We're forced to rely primarily on the United States. Right now, because of the war in Iran, the supply of missiles for Patriots has become more complicated. On Tuesday, I sent a special letter regarding this to the President of the United States and to Congress of the United States, a detailed letter outlining every aspect of what is needed and how the supply of a sufficient number of Patriots, above all missiles and systems, could influence bringing this war to an end. We're hoping for a response, and I'm grateful to all senators and congressmen, to all our friends in the United States who positively perceive this appeal. At the same time, we're also actively working with our European friends. I believe Europe must have, here at home, on its continent, all the capabilities necessary for protection. We need our own European ballistic missile defense in sufficient numbers and with sufficient capabilities. We will work on this, including within the NB8 format. This is one of our most effective formats, bringing together Ukraine, the Nordic states and the Baltic states. We are preparing for the NB8 summit in June. I'm also grateful to you for all sanction steps, Ulf. I'm grateful to your government, and I'm grateful for everything that constrains Russia's capacity for aggression. And one more thing, I thank Sweden for its principled support for our path toward our movement toward the EU. In the very near future, we expect the opening of negotiation clusters. Everything is ready for this, and we must continue moving forward so that Ukraine's participation in European affairs, including our security experience, our economic potential, and the potential of Ukrainian creativity, becomes a full-fledged part of European relations and European development. Ukraine is fighting for its life and for the European way of life with full strength. We are deeply grateful to everyone who supports us, everyone who respects our Ukrainian people, everyone who is helping us bring peace closer. Thank you, Sweden, and once more, thank you, Ulf. Once more, glory to Ukraine.
Thank you so much. Tack så mycket. Thank you, Volodymyr. Allra sist.
And just by way of conclusion, the fact that the country in Europe which knows more of all the horrific requirements of war, Ukraine, should choose to purchase Swedish Gripen fighter jets for long-term air defense is also the best possible confirmation of the quality of Swedish engineering skills, men and women who over decades have further developed this unique capability in Linköping, Trollhättan, Karlskoga, and in other parts of Sweden. So everyone who went to work this morning and everyone who goes to work every single morning to work to develop this further, please know that you make a difference. You will soon also be defending Ukraine and thereby also defending Sweden. Now I'd like to open up for questions. Hanna.
Questions. We'll start with the Swedish television.
Thank you, Andreas Öbring, Swedish television. Mr. President, describe what will these aircraft mean for you on the battlefield, and how do you feel about finally getting Gripen? And also, do you plan to purchase also the other 130 that we were talking about in autumn? And thirdly, what does this mean for the relation between Sweden and Ukraine? And a quick question also to Mr. Prime Minister. Do you expect there will be a Russian response or pressure against Sweden because of this?
Please.
Thanks so much for your question. So, from the very beginning of this war, you know that each month we had, it was a big challenge because Russia used so many different types of weapons, missiles, drones, aerial bombs against us. And each month, each week, we work 24/7 with partners. God bless, we have strong partners, Sweden, one of such strong partners. And each month we found different keys how to defend ourselves, how to help soldiers, and how to help civilians. And you know that it's still a big challenge for us using aerial during the months. It's about thousands, and they're using their jets, and they use them from their territory or from the temporarily occupied Ukrainian territory, 100 kilometers plus. So we never had enough air defense to destroy this. we didn't have these capabilities, but we always tried to find a way how to fight against these thousands. They destroyed not only civilians and infrastructure, critical infrastructure, they destroyed by these bombs. For example, all the borders with them regions, they destroyed everything, and soldiers, and front. It's Donbass, it's Donetsk and Lugansk region, it's Kharkiv, it's Sumy, a lot of different cities and villages been totally destroyed by aerial bombs, aerial bombs. So, and of course, these jets with very specific weapon, and we're very thankful that we will get jets with weapon, not just jets. These jets, Gripens, with specific weapons, especially meteors, missiles, and etc., which can destroy 200 kilometers plus. So we think that we will push out these jets, Russian jets, and they will not be able to use massively aerial bombs. These bombs. This is number one, and a lot of things which I can't share with you publicly. Other things, but this is very important moment.
Well, thank you so much. On how would Russia react or will react? I mean, I think it's quite obvious that Russia, we know quite well what Russia thinks about the countries providing help for Ukraine, you know, so that won't surprise us. And equally, what they think about countries that are acting on the Russian shadow fleet, for example, in the Baltic Sea and elsewhere. So we know that fairly well. I think all countries in our neighborhood, we are very well prepared for different Russian reactions, for hybrid threats and all these things going on. So it doesn't really change anything in that sense.
I didn't, sorry, Ulf, and I didn't answer. Of course, we will buy all the 150 jets. God bless, we will have enough financing for this. We count, as I said, on this 90 billion. We will do step by step. We will manage all our decisions between Ukraine and Sweden. We need these jets, and for us it's a really new page for Ukraine. So thank you so much for this possibility.
We have a question from the Ukrainian television.
Доброго дня.
Good afternoon, Interchannel, Telethon, United News. Mr. President, my question is to you. Yesterday, there was news that you have sent an urgent letter to American President Donald Trump and U.S. Congress saying that Ukraine is facing critical shortage of air defense against the backdrop of Russian attacks. Have you received any response from American side yet? Was there any reaction? Thank you for this question. Continuing with the topic of aviation, I'll move on to the topic of fighting against missiles and the capabilities for fighting ballistic and other types of missiles that Russia is using against us and against people and killing Ukrainians. You know that today we're using our aircraft. We have established this process. We're using jets and helicopters when fighting against massive drone attacks, above all Iranian Shaheds and etc. You know that 600 drones, an attack can consist of 600 drones. These are constant massive attacks. We're downing these assets with everything we can. And what I've said about Gripens and their fight against glide bombs, Gripens, being a part of modern future Ukrainian aviation, will be fighting against other missiles and aerial assets, both missiles and drones as well. So this is a very important element. Speaking about anti-ballistic capabilities, as of now, you know that we don't have any other instruments but Patriots. We also have an agreement with France about SEMT, but this is about future steps. Today we're speaking about Patriots. Only the US produces them. We also have great agreements with Germany, but once again, it's about future packages. But we must live today. We must save our lives today. And today, and now it's only the US that is producing ballistic missile defense. I have started these conversations with President Biden. Now I continue them with President Trump. We very much hope that Ukraine will receive licenses to produce PAC-3 missiles for Patriots so that we could help other countries as well that might face this need. As we now see on the Middle East, everybody needs it. Ukraine has not received licenses for PAC-3 production. I believe that we can receive it in the future, or we can build our own system, which is why I wrote the letter to President Trump and Congress of the United States of America. I believe they must act quicker. We are being very persistent. We're asking it very persistently. Winter's ahead. Russia, as of now, diplomacy cannot stop Russia. We are stopping them with our long-range sanctions, and we very much ask our American partners to help us with allocating bigger number of anti-ballistic missiles, PAC-3 missiles, or give Ukraine licenses so that Ukraine can increase this capability on its own and provide help to other countries. In June, Congress of the United States will begin its work. Yesterday I met congressmen and senators. They were in Ukraine. They support proposals which were sent to Congress and White House. We're expecting an official response from Congress and White House. Thank you.
Question from Swedish radio.
Hiva Abdelsad, the Swedish radio. How soon will Gripen be above the skies of Ukraine, and when are the pilots ready, the Ukrainian ones? And two questions for Swedish Prime Minister. Will there be a need to ramp up the production of Gripen-E? And how will this be done? And can you say anything more about the deal you signed? How does it contribute to the Swedish armed forces?
You want me? Yes, okay. Thank you very much. I said during my speech that we count during 10 months, have first Gripens already. Yes, now our pilots began training missions, and we count to have a wider infrastructure for trainings. It's our task to send more pilots. It's always a big challenge for Ukraine, it's true, because our pilots now in the sky, in Ukrainian sky, defending Ukrainian lives. So it's always very difficult for Minister of Defense and the Chief of our Army to send as much as possible our pilots for training missions. But we will do it. So we spoke today about it with the Prime Minister and with the military guys from Sweden part and from Ukrainian part. So we will try our best to send more. I think that in December, January, we will get first Gripens with our Ukrainian pilots.
Well, thank you. A few words. As you know, we have already started the training of pilots since quite some time, actually, and we said that already alongside when the other aircrafts were provided for Ukraine. We started the training of pilots for future use, so to say. And now it's obviously that we can increase the numbers of pilots being trained. So I think that's a very good start. When it comes to production capacity, obviously Saab will be mostly suited to answer that specific question. But we have discussed the need for increased production capacity. That goes also because of other export projects right now, where the Gripen fighter is being asked for. And finally, this agreement is a broader framework in which this deal, this agreement, this purchase and this donation is very well fitted into. But the broader agreement is honestly also on how Sweden can learn from Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine right now has the most advanced capacity to deal with drone wars in Europe, and we are extremely eager to learn from Ukraine how to be able to handle such a situation. So I think when we talk about the need for kind of air defense in a very broad sense, most people perhaps think about the fighters, and they are extremely important, as the President just mentioned, but the fighters are basically a part of a far bigger system of being able to defend yourselves from very different kinds of, from the most expensive and advanced long-range weapons to honestly the most simple ones, still creating massive destruction. So this agreement is kind of creating a framework for our cooperation. Yeah.
Question from Reuters.
Good afternoon. Could I ask the President what the purchase of Gripens means in terms of cooperation between the defence industries of Sweden and Ukraine, and what other areas do you see as important when it comes to cooperating between the two countries and their defence industries?
Thank you very much. So just answering on your question and continuing answering just on the previous question. So what Ukraine has for today, the biggest experience in the world of defending lives, soldiers, infrastructure, energy, water supplies, schools, everything. So this is defending shield. We have this soft and we have this experience. Nobody has it. We will share it. The big part in it is aviation. Gripens is the part. You know, you have drones interceptors, you have systems of electronic warfare, you have the radars, the field of radars, you have aviation, you have helicopters, you have everything. You do it on the sea, on the land, in the sky, totally. You have this today's modern air defense shield. It's not about attacks. It's not about offensive operations. Of course you can, but it's not about it. It's about defending. The part of this is great jets. We have our, basing on our experience during the war, we have systems of electronic warfare. We have, I think, great experience with helicopters, even with jets, but how to use them. We don't produce them yet. Such high class, yes, but we want in the future to do it, to do co-production in Ukraine, of course, also. But we are ready for today share this experience which we've got during the war with our partners. We will do it. We will share it with Sweden. We will build and work on air shield for the Europe. It's our idea. We call it drone deal. We will do a drone deal with Europe. We will do it. Of course, we will share all our experience and knowledge with the countries who will want it and who have such capacities. Who don't have, we need to share with them and help them in any way. So this is what we can do, and basing on this idea, we will co-produce. It's all about these items, drones, and anti-ballistic system we will try to do. We are close. We will try to new one. So, and all about radars and other mechanism of defending. So we will do all these items with a partnership with some countries. Sweden, one of the global partner for Ukraine military production.
Thank you so much. That will conclude the press conference. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.